It's been billed as a bold reset. Bold nga ba?
Well, it it appeared to be bold when there was a blanket courtesy resignation required from all the cabinet secretaries. But it seems like um, there has been no major changes except for a few. And the second time around, this announcement today posts no viable reason other than the most likely connection between the Duterte, the previous government, no? So, for instance, if you look at Solgen Guevara, by the way, he was he was part of the Office of the Executive Secretary under Pinoy, and then became Secretary of Justice, and then moved to Solgen. And when Executive Secretary Bersamin mentioned that it's time for him to, there's really no viable reason why he was replaced other than the fact that he recused. And you need to read between the lines that when the fact that he was not removed immediately despite the clamor does not that the reason was wrong or that was not because of his accusal. Tinanong talaga na ipagpaliban muna, but there are no tangible reasons why he was replaced.
Yeah.
On the Popoy de Vera has been an educator. He was our professor in De La Salle University way back. And so was really top in the field of education. Plus, our lackadaisical status of education natin globally referred to the grade school elementary side. Hindi naman yung higher education. So there was, again, because he was connected to the Duterte side, most likely reason he was replaced.
So long story
So parang lackluster. Parang wala. It was, the billing was not achieved. Or is it media that made, I'm trying to think, did media create some kind of expectation? And then we're now all, really? Yan lang?
No, it wasn't media. Media just reported on the fact that the president required a blanket resignation from all his cabinet members. In fact, he made a joke in a speech in the palace in Dal Hall. Meron pa ba akong cabinet members? No? So there was when he announced a wholesale resignation, it appeared like there was going to be a wholesale replacement as well. But it turns out that only a handful were being removed, and they are not really frontliners, by the way. I mean, Solgen, how do you evaluate the performance of a Solicitor General? You evaluate the performance of a Solicitor General based on the number of victories that he defended, the government positions that he defends before the Supreme Court. There was no major case before the Supreme Court on the part of any actions against the executive branch. So there's really, to a large degree, it was overpromise and underdeliver. And like you said, perhaps it can be not so much a lackadaisical, but we were expecting a huge number of secretaries being replaced, and the more prominent ones at the very least. No, but who are being replaced are those are not really major positions. In the first place, you immediately retain the economic team, the economic managers, which is good. It provided stability with the community and the foreign investors. And then you move to the political positions right now. So he retained Justice Secretary Remulla, who's really doing a good job. John Vic is new. Senator si Gibo Teodoro is also been with the reasoning provided by Secretary Bersamin on the resignation of De Guevara could be applied also to Gibo Teodoro. Teodoro has been there from the start of the government. By the way, 3 taon lang, hindi masyadong mahaba yung midterm. Although technically, in the time of President Marcos, the father of the incumbent president, he would replace them regularly. So may regular replacement si Macoy. So maybe it's a playbook that he's doing, but medyo kulang sa lakas ba? Kulang sa wala impact yung pag-replace.
Reading between, Attorney Lacierda, reading between the lines of what you just said, it would seem at least up to now, as of today, kasi konti pa lang naman yung napapalitan, it would seem to be more of a cleansing of the ranks from the mga Duterte-associated cabinet secretaries. Am I hearing that right?
So, these recent replacements, you have to imply that primarily because what were the KPIs or performance indicators, whether to remove you or not, Sean, sabi ni spokesperson Claire, walang puwang sa kabinete ang tamad at incompetent. Wala naman sinabing incompetent si Solgen. Wala naman sinabing tamad si Solgen or si
Rivera.
Popoy. So, ano ang basehan ng pagtanggal sa kanila? So you really have to look for a cogent, tangible reason for the removal. And the only tangible reason is their relationship with the former President Duterte. Because other than that, they would have said something about performance. They would have said something about draft in the performance of their duties. There were none. So talaga, ano hanapin mo? So nagkaroon tayo ang lakas pa ng dating nung statement na walang puwang sa kabinete ang tamad. Pero wala naman nangyari. Wala naman sinasabing tamad. Wala naman sinasabing corrupt. So, nagkulang.
And how does this affect yung messaging ng current administration that a lot of people find to be lacking or confusing or even parang self-contradicting at times?
Mixed messages.
Yes.
And this is something that hindi naman, it boils down again, as in the US politics, does it affect kitchen table issues? No? Hindi rin naman actually. It's more political rather than the basic daily lives of the Filipino people. No? So, and the one thing good and maybe not so good also about the Filipinos, they're very, very forgiving. And they also tend to have a short-term memory when it comes to all these things. They will just let it pass. Ang magandang, with respect to General Torre, let's admit the fact that he's really a performing official. Tama yung sinabi nyo, kay Kibuloy, kay Pangulong Duterte, ganyan naman talagang hinahanap ng taong bayan. Yan magandang appointment ni General Torre dahil talagang he was a man of action. Whether you're a Duterte follower or whether you are against President Duterte, you must admit that he was stern, he was firm in the implementation of the directives of whether it's the palace or any court order. No? So talagang you would really, and we would like to see strongman. Ang tendency natin mga Pilipino, strongman talaga ang gusto natin. So that was a very good appointment. And I think tama rin sabi ni Secretary Bersamin na susunod naman ng kapulisan. Plus, mag-retire naman si General Narville. Wala namang issue on his competency naman. But yes, medyo walang mixed messaging kasi may kulang ang effect, kulang ang impact, I suppose, sa pangako na I will replace those who are non-performing and those who are corrupt. And those reasons were not fundamentally provided by Secretary Bersamin.
Kasi sa sinasabi mo, kung frontline agencies, the DSWD, DA, I don't know, DTI,
Correct.
would you even...
Health, labor,
Oh, DOH,
DOH,
yes.
DOLE.
Yan, DOH, importante yan. But alam mo, kaya nanalo si Bongo kasi may malasakit centers eh. Siya yung nagtayo nun. That's why yung boto ni Bongo talaga, dala doon yung malasakit. Kaya ang tingin ng tao, it's being addressed. But the point is, yes, correct. Walang masyadong, we don't hear much about the DOH.
Okay.
Ang DTI naman, maganda kay DTI, the reason why possibly she was retained, inflation is down. But that's a function of other departments naman, on NEDA, on the BSP. So it benefited her, but we need to see how she will perform naman this time around. No? Ang balita, akala natin si Sec.Dec Go ang pupunta ron sa DTI, so hindi natuloy yun. So yung si Rex Gatchalian, nandun lahat yung mga remember this nung panahon ng election, I was saying the election budget, ACAP, yung lahat. Sino ba ang implementing agency yan? Si DSWD yan eh. Pero wala tayong hindi tulad ang kagandahan ni Secretary Vince Dizon, he knows how to use media. At kilos niya, may media sumusunod. Siguro dapat
Ganyan din yung DSWD, DA.
Correct.
So, Kong's problem pa rin. Di ba? Ganun pa rin.
Nung panahon namin, sinabi, kwento ko lang sa panahon namin, President Aquino, from the start, from day one, he told us, never crow about your achievements. So we were never crowing. Yung mga DPWH, yung mga kaling tinatayo, hindi nilalagay yung mukha ni Pinoy, kaya akala ng mga tao, trabaho yun at gawa yun ng mga governor, ng mayor, na ano, the local government officials just appropriated that. No? But we recognize also na dapat sabihin sa taong bayan kung anong ginagawa ng gobyerno. Importante na malaman nila na ang Pangulo at ang kanyang kabinete at kanyang mga departamento ay gumagalaw at pinapaayos ang buhay ng bawat Pilipino. Na kapag hindi ginagawa, malaking problema. Kaya itong tulad ng DA na pinangako pa lalo ni Pangulo Marcos na 20 pesos lang ang isang kilo, ngayon dapat nilang gawin niya. Kaya ginawa pero ang style naman nila is subsidy. Pero sabi na whatever the means of doing it, they were able to at least malapit na sa election, ginawa yung 20%. Hopefully, sasabihin nila, may i-apply yan nationwide. Well, it depends on the budget kung kaya nating ituloy yung subsidy na 20 pesos na yun. But yan yung mga kailangan gawin ng bayad ng mga kalihim
So,
na
okay.
magparam.
If you were in the shoes of Jay Ruiz, anong sasabihin mo sa kanila? Anong advice mo?
No, I will tell them to really be proactive. Number one, there are two things. No, the messaging itself, the what we call the medium is the message. You really have to come forward and you really have to present yourself to the people through media, social media, to outreaches to the people. Kung what we are doing to do this, like take this whole EDSA thing that we're going to do EDSA. Ang laking ano niyan, laking sakit ng ulo niyan. Kaya ang concern ko lang, nag-announce kayo kailan lang, dapat binigyan sana na mas maraming time maghanda ang mga Pilipino. Plus that odd even sim will really kill it. Will really maraming maapektuhan. Ano? Okay. Kaya at least ini-inform mo, you really have to inform the public. Pangalawa, on the political messaging side, ang napansin ko lang talaga, ang media, ang MPC, trabaho naman to ng mahilig mangsabong talaga. Like pag may tanong tungkol kay Pangulong Duterte, sinasagot, sabi ko, ang punto ko doon, huwag nyo nang sagutin yung mga, kasi kaya nga medyo part nyo natalo siguro, kasi top of mind si Pangulong Duterte, top of mind si Sara Duterte. Pag yun ang parating naririnig, and you're not in control of the narrative, kumbaga sa military, you don't control the battlefield, why are you going to a battlefield where you're not in control? You're always on the defense. So you rethink yourself, as if I was Jay Ruiz, I would rethink, do we need to respond? Do we need not to respond? Kaya may magandang mga kailangan gawin. Pero insofar as promoting the work of the cabinet, they should really go out and inform the public, be very proactive in dealing with the public. Well, it's sometimes very burdensome to do it. Pero ngayon, magparamdam kayo eh. Yun lang ang alam mo, yan ang hinihingi ng tao. You're not expected to do good, highfalutin policies. Kailangan mo lang yung gawin ng mga kalihim, magparamdam kayo. Diba?
Okay, Attorney, actually, yan naman po yung goal ni Yusek Claire Castro when she was appointed. She did say she wanted to talk more about the projects of the government, ibida yung mga ginagawa nila. But what happened eventually was they became more defensive, reactive. But I wanted to ask, because politics is a battle of narratives, what are the Dutertes doing, right? Because right now, diba, they're enjoying high trust and approval ratings. So why are they winning this battle of narratives?
Because they're appealing to emotions. And we Filipinos are very prone to be attracted to empathy. Look, during the time, when the Quadcom hearings were evidence were being presented in Quadcom hearings, what did you see in the survey? There was a slide in the approval rating of Vice President Duterte. Why? Because suddenly you see all these funds being misused and you see all these names are being magically produced to justify the use of the confidential funds. So there was proof that somehow it appears that there was mismanagement of government funds, public funds, taxpayers' money. Now, but when you move into the arrest of President Duterte, what did they do? By the way, in the misuse of public funds, there was no empathy from the people. In fact, that's the reason why bumagsak ang numbers ni Sara Duterte. But when it came to the arrest of President Duterte, they appealed now to emotion. So the daughter of the President Duterte appealing to tatay ko yan. She didn't talk about him as the president. She talked about him as father, and you could easily relate to a daughter whose father was arrested, and you would even equate yourself by saying, kung nagagawa yan sa dating presidente, magagawa yan sa akin. So they were appealing to emotions. And look at the narrative. What was Attorney Claire's defense or response? Legal po ito. We are signatories to the Rome Statutes. Ginagawa lang namin po yung anong gusto kong gawin na member pa tayo nun. It's very legal. It's above the Philippine. Ilan lang naman.
Okay. But attorney, with the impeachment trials looming, how should the president approach it? Should he be hands-off? Should he take a side? What do you think should be his move here?
He should let the senators decide on the case. I mean, it's already out of his hands. In the first place, he mentioned, unlike President Aquino, who really batted for the impeachment of Chief Justice Corona, President Marcos does not seem to be so attached to it. And in fact, one of the reasons why it took so long was meron ba siyang will he give the go signal or not. He should really leave it to the impeachment court to impeachment the senators to decide, to the House prosecutors to present the evidence. Right now, it's a question of evidence. I remember during the impeachment of Chief Justice Corona, people felt na mahina yung kaso, but when they laid out all the evidence, naniwala ang taong bayan, naniwala rin ang mga senador. Ganon din ba ang mangyayari sa kaso ni Vice President Sara Duterte? Today pa lang, I think his name is Congressman Ortega, already added new names. Mga ebidensyang meron sila. So, this will help their case. Kaya nga dapat, hayaan na ni Pangulong Marcos. Kasi right now, his approval rating is low. Huwag na siyang makitaw dyan sa politika. Gawin niya ang trabaho niya bilang Pangulo ng Pilipinas. Asikasuhin ang problema ng bayan, tugunan ang mga pangangailangan ng ating mga taong bayan, at doon siya mag-ano at susipa ulit ang approval rating niya. I'm very sure
but he's been washing his hands of the impeachments as of late, no? Attorney Lacierda, ang sinabi nga niya dun sa ASEAN press con niya, wala akong kinalaman dyan, sila na yon. Pero yun nga, everyone's pointed out that yung actual impeachment complaint na tumawid, yung fourth, ay filed by 250 congressmen, more or less, kasama na yung anak niya, na yung anak pa niya yung nag-ano. So parang, what do you make of that again? Na parang, effective ba? Kaya pa ba niya hugasan yung kamay niya of this? And how can he, turn it around with, after these two, kumbaga, sputtering installments of the revamp? Sputtering.
Just keep quiet on the impeachment case. And whenever he's asked, he can always, I will defer to the nasa Senate impeachment court na yan. Siguro mas mabuti sila na lang ang sumagot na mga tanungan. He will always be asked about this political side, no? And it will be true to his nature na he's distancing himself because talaga naman there is really although it's a political trial, it's good. It will be better for him if he distances himself and let the Senate impeachment court does the job. Walang like I said, and by the way, your narrative cannot be focused on the impeachment trial. Your narrative is different.
Right. I think he tried to seize the narrative by this cabinet revamp, but it falls flat. So, wala na, he lost momentum. Do we expect more names to be announced o wala nang impact?
Meron pa rin yan. It's not over yet. Pero the whole idea kasi was, hindi mo naman talaga ma-require ang lahat mag-resign kasi ang dami doon. Bago, si Vince bago, si Henry Aguda bago, si Angara bago, relatively new. So talagang alam ng taong bayan, most likely hindi man tatanggalin lahat yan. Pero yung mga talagang, kasi ang taas ng sinabi niya, tatanggal ako ng walang puwang sa kabinet, ang tamad at sa korap. Wala naman kayong pakatwiran. When you were firing people, you weren't citing those cases for their relief. Right. So, yun ang problema. Pero hindi pa yan tapos, no? And now he's gone down to the level of the heads of agencies heads of government control corporations, which are really, again, medyo, wala naman masyadong wala naman masyadong tao yung mga gawin.
All right, we thank you so much for your time, Attorney Edwin Lacierda. Thank you for joining The Big Story. That was Edwin Lacierda, former presidential spokesperson.